The latest headlines in the Ivy League, covered through exclusive interviews right now. From campus to campus, go around the Ancient Eight with Brian Seltzer, Thursdays on the Ivy League Digital Network. Basketball.
To get things going this week, a look at the new sports season, the winter sports season, and for that we'll connect with Dalen Cuff, basketball analyst for the NBC Sports Network, also an anchor for Comcast Sportsnet New England. Dalen, looking at the Ivy League men's basketball landscape, what are you going to be checking out as the season gets underway?
Harvard, I think that's where it starts. I mean, Harvard is the talk of the league, and even more broadly than the league, getting ranked 25th in the country in the AP poll. First time since, I believe, 75, an Ivy League team was in the preseason poll. And I wonder, how good this team is going to be. I mean, you lose guys like Brandon Curry and Kyle Casey and Laurent Rivard, but these guys don't rebuild, they reload. I'm excited to see the ceiling this team has and how far they can go, and can they live up to the high expectations? Can they exceed even the high expectations? We shall see. And also within that, I'm interested to see the challenges in the league, because Yale, brought back basically everybody. Columbia, essentially the same thing. Brown. So there's some challenges out there. Not going to be cakewalks for Harvard all through the Ivy League.
Dalen, you played in the Ivy League. You've been covering it for a long time. What are some of the under-the-radar subplots that you feel are going to be worth following?
I would think Dartmouth, how much they've improved, how the back end of the league, I think, is catching up a little bit, and there's less of a huge gulf in class from the top to the bottom, or even right now from 2 to 7. I think every night's going to be a dogfight. I think Dartmouth's continued to improve year over year. Princeton is going to be a very interesting case. Princeton's Princeton. Mitch Henderson is fantastic. They're going to find a way to get it done. They could make an outside run at this thing. I think they're the big wild card, which is shocking to say Princeton is, but I think that's the team that is getting a little overlooked when you look at Yale, Columbia, Harvard. Princeton's right there talent-wise, and if those younger guys can play above their years, it's going to be pretty impressive to see them.
Always great and helpful to get the scoop from Dalen Cuff, former Ivy League men's basketball player. He's an analyst for the NBC Sports Network and also an anchor for Comcast Sportsnet New England. Dalen, enjoy the start of the season.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Football.
Finishing up this week in University City, where this Saturday at 1 o'clock, the Penn Quakers take on the Harvard Crimson. It's the final home game in the career of Penn head coach Al Bagnoli. Hench Murray of the Penn Sports Network has been broadcasting games for Penn football for 34 years. Hench, Al Bagnoli not trying to make a whole lot of this retirement storyline over the course of this season, but how do you think this is going to go on Saturday? He's been 81-34 all-time at Franklin Field, a place where he's had so much success.
He has low-keyed this, as you said, throughout. He doesn't want a lot of fanfare. He avoids the spotlight. He sheds the credit around to other people. I think it's been difficult for him to be in the spotlight this season, his final one. And his last home game at Franklin Field against the bitter rival Harvard, a team that has really offered him a lot of resistance over the years. The record is pretty much even in his 23-year career, and he's got a good relationship with Coach Murphy at Harvard. This one's going to be really tough as he walks off of Franklin Field for the last time.
Hench, you've been on the call for nearly 3.5 decades for Penn football. How would you put Al Bagnoli's career into context?
It's not just the context of Penn football. It's the whole Ivy League and probably the whole profession. Anybody who can stay at one institution for 23 years is clearly doing something right. I think that reflects itself not just in wins and losses, because I think Al Bagnoli and his staff have, over the years, made an incredible impression on kids. They've taught the values of football. I think they've instilled the whole notion of class. There's a lot more to Al Bagnoli than just the wins and losses on his record.
Great insight on the legacy of Al Bagnoli from Hench Murray from the Penn Sports Network. Hench, thank you.
Okay, Brian.
That's all for this week's edition of Around the Ancient Eight. Thanks so much for tuning in here on the Ivy League Digital Network. Talk to you next week.
This has been Around the Ancient Eight, highlighting headlines from the Ivy League. Check out new episodes premiering Thursdays on the Ivy League Digital Network.